Hello, everybody. Welcome to Zelda Speedruns, broadcasting Link to the Past Randomizer Challenge Cup 2021. We have round 4 for you today. It's Yukikaze versus zenarcane, Game 1. Commentating for us, we have Trey Spire and Zaruven. And tracking is Samimas and Homewrecker. Say hello, everybody.
Oh, are we? So usually I'll let the restreamer give us an intro, as is tradition, but here we are with Challenge Cup round of 16.
And usually I unmute myself in Discord so they didn't hear me do the intro, and that kind of threw us off. That's on me.
So welcome, everyone. This is a round of 16 matchup between Yukikaze and zenarcane. This is Game 1. And of course, it is Challenge Cup. We're going to see a standard opening here. And joining me today is Trey Spire. Trey.
Hello.
Trey, what do we got going on?
Some standard action, you know. Nothing we haven't seen before. Two very good runners going up against each other. I'm super excited to see how this one's going to play out.
And of course, you do have the standard opening does require us to get a random weapon off of the uncle. What are you hoping to see here for our runners today?
I'll grant them mercy and hope for a hammer. But, nope, it's a bow today.
You know, bow is one of those other weapons that you probably want to find early because it does open up quite a bit of this early game. Oh, we see the bomb prize pack as well, which is another thing we'll be looking for as we trove through the castle.
Yeah, definitely a relief. They both runners have the one bomb they need for the back, so we don't have to come back to escape at all after this.
In an early map check, we do see that Eastern is a pendant, so maybe not reading too much into that bow just yet, but it is going to be required either way. Now, these two runners, as I said earlier, this is a round of 16. We are in the 4th round of Challenge Cup. Things are starting to heat up, and that means both players here have really earned their spot. So get ready for probably one heck of a battle as the series opens up. That means we do have standard open. It is Defeat Ganon 7-7. Normal item pool, unlike the main tournament that is playing with hard item pool restrictions right now.
Yep, so silver arrows, butter sword, all those, all the nice quality of life items, I suppose, are definitely going to be accessible.
And that does mean we'll get to see decision-making, routing, and execution be the name of the game today, as we got a slight step for Yukikaze going... Well, actually, no. I've got this backwards. Zen is moving in towards the boomerang chest first, and that means we'll get to see whether or not this escape has any items for us to play with later on. That is a Bombos.
Well, I mean, not a bad medallion to find. Not the most useful right now, but it's nice to have.
And with a 2-pendant Dark World, that Bombos might not even be required, but at the same time, it's something you'd rather have if you think you might have to go into Ice Palace looking for anything later on.
Yeah, I mean, hey, let's throw a Fire Rod in Ice Palace. Why not? Make sure it's necessary.
Of course, the bow does make this escape sequence a little bit more comfortable than some of the other options that we have. So, as you see, 4 arrows take out the ball and chain guard for Zen. Yukikaze decided to do 1 pot, 2 arrows, still plenty of ammunition for the back. And of course, knowing that the bombs are in the guard prize pool, you'll be getting bombs for any snake that you kill as well, as long as they drop.
Good old 50-50 chances there. Can't tell you the number of those I've lost in a row.
All right. The other thing that we note is we do have the key. So we know we have 1 map still sitting around somewhere between here and the sanctuary, and every other check is an item. So there's 4 items yet to be found here.
It's always nice to see the map end up in the sanctuary chest, as long as you remember that it's there. So then one chest you don't have to open. right?
Well, absolutely, because if you think about it, if you remember you haven't seen a map, you're not going around and spending the extra couple seconds to open that chest and be like, oh right, I have everything.
Even though muscle memory is a thing, for sure.
And of course, in the standard escape, you will get a complimentary light cone from the Princess Zelda that you will have also if you have to come back later. Of course, having bombs, we're not going to have to come back. We'll be able to get those 3 checks in the back here in just a moment.
Plenty of bombs to go around here. It's always nice. Plenty for CAC, plenty for South Shore, and everything else.
Yeah, I'm seeing discussion in chat on things like hovering icebreaker. This is playing on the Randomizer's Council's NMG rule set, so you'll be able to see a lot of the things that rando players love to do, such as the diver down and all kinds of other fun stuff.
Yep, icebreaker, all the fun tech that speeds up the game quite considerably.
And makes some places a little bit more tempting to dive into if certain items appear earlier than not. There's our fire rod, a sword, and the map. So we do know there is an item in Sanctuary that both of our runners will undoubtedly be checking here.
That's a super exciting amount of items. Oh hey, since we have that fire rod, you know that pendant Eastern you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, suddenly Armos Knight's looking a little bit more tempting here unless the lamp is locking that big key, which of course, neither of our runners are afraid of that dark room. It is one of the first dark rooms you might learn in this randomizer, so I don't think we'll see anybody afraid to dive in there, although we might prioritize the more dense checks first.
Very true, very true. This is game 1 between the two. I don't think we're going to see anything too crazy in terms of routing decisions quite yet.
We are going to see Yukikaze decide to give a pass to checking Lumberjack, probably, the typical move if you don't have boots or a lamp just yet.
Zen is following in his footsteps. Not a whole lot here in the forest. Piece of heart container.
That little extra HP will be nice for the early game here as we start to trove around, because there's a ton of checks in Kakariko Village that could really turn the seat on its head. I'll tell you one thing I don't find a lot of fun would be a 3-heart mountain climb, so I think both runners are probably happy to see a heart container there.
Oh, you don't want to dodge all of the rocks with only 3 hearts?
Alright, so we are going to see the first of these major checks in their density. There's 5 here in Blind's Hut, and 30 rupees in the back that we would probably see our runners pick up as well, as 100 is only enough to get whatever the bottle vendor happens to have. There's your glove, and never mind on the money, because that's the first of 5 300s that are in this item pool.
And a few more bombs to just top off our bomb count.
And a little bit of extra health. So not anything too exciting just yet, but we've still got Kakariko Well that has another 5 items that we're going to be seeing here.
I don't know. That glove is kind of exciting, if you think about it. There's some stuff we can do with that.
I would like to see a little bit more before we start really chasing the glove.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
And that's a powder. So that'll open up a check that we can do later on, not necessarily now, unless the hammer's sitting in here, but unfortunately we instead see a cape. Now that cape's not really something you want to see.
Well, we can see the cape as long as we don't also see a lamp, right? That's fine.
Now, that glove is a little bit of peace of mind in regards to the Aghanim's tower climb that we are referring to here, because it does allow us to do a few other things, although if you don't see any other pieces to Dark World other than a lamp, then you'll know what you need to do next. And there is the Moon Pearl. Yeah. So, it's kind of an awkward feeling to be getting a glove, which feels great, and then a cape, which doesn't feel as great, and the Moon Pearl showing up earlier than any other piece of progression is, we've got the ability to go into Palace of Darkness if we climb Aghanim's Tower here. Oh, no.
Well, there's technically Dark World access. Where do you think the boots are?
I'm going to say they're in the Dark World.
Hey, look, a bottle. So I'm going to assume both runners are probably going to grab this bottle and turn right around and go to Sick Kid.
Oh, absolutely. Well, for one, it's a free blue goo, and you could always use that little safety in your pocket. And for two, I mean, when are you going to come back to Kakariko Village if you don't do this now?
True, this is probably the best time. The only other time I would think would be like if you find a flute in South Shore, or if you get a hammer to do Magic Bat. But all of that's dependent on you finding other items.
Well, I mean, to be fair, though, if we get the hammer, we're not even thinking about turning in Sick Kid without coming over here to do Dark World Traversal through Village of Outcasts anyway.
True.
And Zen has made the decision to step out of this series of checks. He's going to leave the Sick Kid for later. It's an interesting call.
Call that will pay off, at least for now.
And a little bit aggressive to just leave one isolated check in Kakariko that you're going to have to go back for later, but it is convenient to check it as you're passing back through. As we mentioned, we do have the powder for Magic Bat. We do have the known mitts on the library. So there are a number of reasons to come back to Kakariko. The question will be whether or not we remember that we have that bottle to turn in if we're still looking for something.
Meanwhile, here we are in the dam.
One thing these runners might consider, with 400 rupees and Zora being in Logic, we could see a fake flipper coming out of Mini Moldarm Cave, depending on what is inside.
Oh, we could. Zen opting to go to desert, though. This is actually something that he and I have discussed after one of our races. He likes to go to the dam and then go to Agina just to avoid isolating this check, and then he'll save and quit and then come back down south and go right to Mini Moldarm and Ice Rod Cave.
And this is something you do see a number of runners decide to do more frequently as things go on, because you don't want to lead that Sphere 1 check for as long of a period as you want to end up seeing if there's anything you might need. This ended up being not too useful, but the 300 means that he won't have to do any farming if Zora happens to have something we need. Well, there's Dark World access.
And a mushroom. Well, Ag is dead. That's unfortunate. Well, we don't.
No, not quite.
Not yet. Now that I'm saying that, we don't know what's on Lumberjack.
We don't know what's on Lumberjack. We don't know what's on the pyramid. We don't know what's in the pyramid. We don't know where our flippers are.
Or the hammer.
And if flippers and or hammer are anywhere between pyramid and pod on that side of the world, then Aga would be logically required. Oh boy, our favorite, the hammer hunt.
Yeah,
what do you think, Trey?
I love a hammer hunt. Hammer hunts are great. Hey, Hammer keeps you out of Turtle Rock for as long as possible, so I'll take it.
And we got the Bonk Rocks check coming up for Yukikaze. Let's see what Zen decides to do with these boots going over to Ice Rod Cave.
Looks like he's gonna check Lumberjack here.
I think this is the right call to make with the pieces kind of falling into place. If there is anything of progression up here, you'd rather know that it's there and that you'll have to go get it. Fortunately for our runners today, it is 20 rupees, so we're not going to be killing Aghanim for its item.
Zen opting to water walk his way up to Zora, it seems. Well, I suppose over to under the bridge first, and then we'll make a visit to our favorite scamfish.
I certainly don't mind getting these checks out of the way, especially if something does end up flipper locked down the line. There we go. Having a little bit of fun trying to find that pixel, but Zen does get it, and he's going to swim on out and check out our waterfall and whatever Zora has in his domain.
And meanwhile, Yukikaze is going to head into the Dark World. We'll most likely get a first look at our Dark World map, see what dungeons we need to do today.
Well, the flippers aren't looking to be too hot here, as we've got a green pendant swamp, a red pendant ice palace 5-6 in Turtle Rock and Pod, everything else being a blue crystal, and already going to see Skull Woods here on the table for Yukikaze.
With an early Fire Rod, I definitely agree with this wholeheartedly.
And probably a really nice find for zenarcane moving forward. That's half magic sitting in the waterfall.
I like it. I like seeing half magic.
All right, that bottle of red potion is probably going to be sitting there for the remainder of the run for both runners, but it also tells them that there's one less bottle out there that they'll be finding.
Zora with
oh my goodness.
That's a bit important there, I think.
Just slightly, and that's going to end up being a little bit of an advantage for Zen, especially with the Skull Woods dive. Actually, he's got two advantages here. He's got the half magic with the Fire Rod, and he's got a Master Sword.
Yeah, that's... I assume Yukikaze will make their way up there eventually. Well, maybe. Thinking that technically these flippers aren't required, as far as we know right now, right?
And the only way I think in this case, with the Dark World fully open, with the exception of the east side, I think the only time you might see a runner do that if they haven't already thought about going to Zora is a mirror from Catfish.
Exactly.
So Zen's going to pick up his piece of heart, and he'll go get his mitts and probably join us here in Skull Woods in just a moment as Yukikaze makes their way towards the back. So this fight's not going to be free by any means. It is a 7-heart green male with Fighter Sword and Fire Rod only Mothula. We have 1 blue potion in stock, so a little bit of extra safety if we need it.
Yeah, and at this point for Yukikaze, it's more than likely only going to be 1 Fire Rod shot.
Ooh. Yeah, I hate to see it. The Wallmaster, off the bounce from the Hard Hat Beetle, pulls Yukikaze back to the front of the dungeon. Ouch.
I need to farm up a little bit of magic here in order to even get past the torches room.
Yeah, and between this room and the next room, there's only 4 magic pots, so even if you get some of the Gibdas to absorb 1 or 2 to get out of your way, bumping into them takes 2 hearts. You could use bombos, but that's the equivalent of 2 shots of the fire rod in itself, so they're really not a happy situation to be in here. We're going to see Yukikaze go in with half a magic meter. And this is fine. We're back to exactly where we were just a few moments ago.
Everything's fine. Everything's perfect.
Yeah, between the mini Helma and the hard hat beetle, you can get bounced around real easy in this room.
Alright, and into our first boss fight of the seed.
And Mothula is no slouch with just a fighter's sword in hand here, so interesting to see how this will pan out.
Moth in particular is 16 fighter sword slashes or 8 spins, provided you don't bump the Moth into any spikes.
Now, we did mention earlier we do have that fire rod that will also do Master Sword level of damage to Moth. And we do have a blue potion, so we might see a resort to that if a couple more knocks around happen in this arena. But so far, a very patient fight from Yukikaze. Everything coming up pretty nicely for them. Meanwhile, zenarcane did decide to go make the bridge check first, and we do see another piece of heart as the other item here in Skull Woods, so not anything to be too excited about. There went that blue potion, and we're going to see Fire Rod finish. And at 21 minutes, we do have our first crystal of the match. Yukikaze drawing the first blood here.
Zen will be dropping into the fight here momentarily.
Yeah, and we've seen where that half magic and that fire rod are really paying off for zenarcane. As he, with those extra checks in hand, he's right on Yukikaze's heels right now.
Yeah, depending on how this fight goes, they might both be leaving Skull Woods pretty much at the same time.
I would give a slight step to Yuk here, just because he's already on his way out the door, and Zen still has to dispatch this Moth.
Yeah, for sure.
I do believe both runners have seen both items, so it'll be interesting to see which direction they choose to go in. With that cape coming up early, I wouldn't be surprised to see just a peek at the bumper ledge.
Alright, Moth down on Zen's side. And Yuki's probably on their way to bumper, like you were saying.
Yeah, this check, if you don't make it now, you're probably not making it until you have a mirror later on. Again, just 20 rupees, so something we can absolutely skip. And we will descend into Village of Outcasts here for Yukikaze. 3 free checks just sitting there. A mirrorless smith chain open, which isn't exactly something that we want to talk about just yet.
And of course, we do have Thieves Town without a hammer.
Yeah, without any quick way to get around, I think it'd be super tempting to go into Thieves Town here as well. You might see a lot of circumstances where a runner will wait for the hammer or kind of dip out of going to Thieves Town, in hopes to either see a flute or, come back later with a mirror to do Smith Chain. Having boots, you can get here kind of quickly from Sanctuary spawn point, but I think if you're going to do the Dark World loop in this situation, you probably want to get this out of the way, which of course opens up that unfortunate feeling of, oh god, is there something in the big chest?
Yeah, or we can just get lucky and maybe, there's a small key in the big chest.
Or, we could find a hammer in Thieves Town. You never know. Seen that before.
That's too easy. We can't have too easy.
And chat pointing out, it is way too hard to skip a crystal here. You can clear this dungeon. If you have to come back later, it doesn't feel great, but chances are, in this circumstance, your opponent probably has to do that too. Oh, Zen is continuing eastward. Are we going to see a Kern jump here, or are they setting up to... yeah, they're going back west. Okay.
A Kern jump here would have been super spicy, and I would have loved to see that.
Oh, look, another medallion. And knowing that both of our medallion entry dungeons are crystals, we're probably happier to see those than in any other circumstance here.
Absolutely. There's only a 33% chance that we need Quake at this point, right? Well, I guess 16%, but... or something. Numbers.
Hey, I have a hard time counting to 2 in dungeons sometimes. I don't want to have to do math when I'm just like, hey, does this coin open this door? Cool.
Between 0 and 100. Yes, chat pointing out it's definitely a non-zero chance.
Unsurprisingly, we're going to see the same thing from Zen here. So I did not catch just how many items were in the front. I know we saw at least 1, and of course the big key is required to be in the first 3 checks.
I believe we saw 2. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it's 2.
Well, that's why we have our trackers today, Home Wrecker and Samimas. They probably have the answer. And Sam is quoting Trey Spire. I believe we saw 2, because the answer here was in fact 2.
Yeah.
So that means there is possibly an item in that big chest, unless the item in Maiden Cell is, in fact, a non-dungeon item.
Yeah, because the key cannot be on blind. That would cause some problems.
Oof. Well, there's your key.
So I guess they're 50-50 at this point, right? Either the item's on blind or not. That does mean if blind does have progression, the hammer cannot lead, or it cannot lead to the hammer.
That is true. That means the hammer is not by way of Thieves Town, and this is just a crystal that we can clean up for the sake of cleaning up a crystal. Hammer might not be the only thing we'll be looking for here, however. We do have the Ice Rod that has to be found at some point before we can take care of Trinex and TR. Flippers are not necessarily required unless there is progression in Ice or Swamp. Also kind of gross. And the Hookshot. Because the Hookshot.
Because the Hookshot.
Yeah, and that's, looking at the prize layout, this could very well turn out to be a Hover Seed.
Blind drop and a compass. So we are an item in the big chest.
Now, I do know it's very early yet, so probably not thinking, worst case scenario, that item is something we need. There are a ton of checks still available for us. Neither runner's turned in that mushroom, let alone that powder. Haven't seen a mirror yet, which leads to a number of other locations. And, well, it's just 20 rupees here on the dig game, but we do have that mirrorless smith chain, Stumpy, and, of course, hype cave sitting in wait on the south side of the world here.
It's always nice when dig game is a low number of digs for the nothing item rather than 30. So I guess that's a small blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I would take 4 digs for a big 20 over 27 digs for a piece of heart any day.
Okay, Yukikaze taking the frog on a small world tour.
Very nicely handled blind from Zen.
Very, very nice. Following the script pretty much to a T.
All right, all tied up, 2 crystals apiece. Yukikaze having a little bit of a check advantage here, and we see a blue mail. Okay, that's a little comforting with this amount of HP still.
And a shield, and possibly more importantly, a lamp.
The lamp has something to say here, I'm sure.
So now, logically, we can go up the mountain. We can technically, logically, get to the east side of the Dark World.
Just not in the way that you would expect to have to.
Exactly, but it can happen.
See, more interestingly, it makes that Sphere 2 Eastern Palace now full clearable regardless of where the big key is in logic, which means you might have progression in a dungeon you don't really want to have to dive into.
So when I said that the Smith is going on a world tour here, I was not expecting to head this way.
Yeah, typically you'll see the Smith, maybe visit the King's Tomb, sometimes the Bonk Rocks, and, parts of that side of the world. You don't usually see a pit stop at the potion shop. I guess he was thirsty.
I suppose so, and Yuki definitely is willing to indulge the Smith in some blue potion. Buying the good stuff here.
Yeah, that means Yuki's just a fantastic host here. Your guest is like, I could use a drink, and you go ahead and you buy him the most expensive thing in the entire shop. Heck yeah.
Of course, now I believe we will take the Smith home. He's had his fill. Although I'm surprised we went to the potion shop and not the tavern that's also in Kakariko.
It depends on how old the Smith is, too. Any idea what the drinking laws are in Hyrule?
I can say I am not a Hyrule historian.
Alright, so the Smith has been returned to his little Smith hut, and we'll see that they're hammering out for us today a flute! Oh my goodness.
Man, that's actually that's pretty good to find.
That's kind of spicy. That does open up Mire. That kind of reinforces possibly going to the mountain in a quicker way than is usual. Mire area itself right now is 2 checks plus a dungeon we may be able to enter, but not finish unless one of those checks, either between Mire Shed or Mire itself, is the Key of Samaria. And opting to do the mountain first, probably the same call I might have made here.
I can see it. I feel like at this point, like if I were in these runners' shoes, I would have been up here already because I like to sequence break the mountain as soon as I can. But
at this point, the seed's kind of all arrows pointing to the mountain with the exception of one thing. You can't really go anywhere after you save the old man and check out Spectacle Rock Caves, so we're going to have to see some progression in literally the next check, or this is kind of just a, well, we got him.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like Zen's going to complete the Smith chain here.
Yeah, we did see Yukikaze skip the purple chest, so this is interesting, because from here Zen could decide to go either up the mountain as well, or flute directly to Meyer and see what's going on. Oh, you're picking those up, especially having only one sword right now, and what's on the table for us. I think you grab those every time.
Absolutely. Plus, there's nothing else that Yuki can do up here right now. So you grab the silvers and just leave, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Alright, so short on silvers for the moment, but Zen does have a sword that Yukikaze hasn't picked up yet. So, very interesting here is the purple chest also turns out to be absolutely nothing.
All right.
And you know,
censoring in his mushroom, and we've got our first look at Eastern.
And we haven't seen Saha's closet yet either, so this is a Sphere 1 check that could kind of open things up quite a bit.
Yeah, Sphere 1.
And here's Zen with the peek into the Meyer area. I like it.
There's our second sword for Yukikaze in the Hostler.
Yeah, you saw that, right? The entry for Meyer is Bombos.
Oh, no, I missed that. Ooh.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. Oh, boy, oh, boy. All right, now we're talking mountain.
I like it. I like it a lot.
And I would happen to think that sword is probably, it's good for Yukikaze, but it's even better for zenarcane, because I don't see a situation where he doesn't pick that up eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. They do have Dupont, so I feel like at some point, unless they're in like hammer go mode or something, there's I don't see any reason where Zen will skip Sahasrara.
Yeah, there is a situation where you might, and it's if you never, not even once, see the mirror.
Ooh, and this could be a mirrorless sea.
All right, so Yukikaze did find the big key in the front of Eastern Palace. So Eastern Palace, in and of itself, the boss is considered Sphere 2. However, because of where we found the lamp, the item, if there is an item in the big key location, is a little bit further down the logic chain here. Got nothing but true facts being preached in chat right now. You hate having to mirrorless route a dungeon like Pod. Especially if you are just in bad check situation and you're looking for a hammer or you're looking for an ice rod and you can't easily get around and check all these things. And the last thing you want to see is a mirror, because then you've got isolated mirror checks everywhere.
Yes, a mirror, but how about a shovel? As Yukikaze picks one up out of Eastern.
Man, how about a shovel? I'm sure chat wants to see the shovel, and Zen is setting up for this bomb jump to try to save a little bit of time here.
It looks pretty clean. We're across.
So that means he's going to drop down, and we've got Paradox Cave and possibly Spiral Cave coming up here, and if we don't like what we see there, we've still got all of Dark Death Mountain as well. So this is a boatload of checks for zenarcane that Yukikaze is going to miss out on until they go to Meyershed to get their hookshot.
Yep, and possibly, just as important, we're gonna know what medallion we need for our entry into TR.
And it looks for Yuki, he's going to the back of Eastern, so he's going to dispatch Armo. It's really a quick fight here. Well, never mind. Oh, no. Oh, no.
That's
okay.
a pile of items.
We are now possibly one item from go mode.
Think the red cane's here too?
No, but Sword 4 is.
That's a cane, but it's blue.
Wow, oh my god, Paradox Cave for Go mode. What is this seed?
I heard you like jets. Well, we're not in Go yet. Hold on. We might need ether.
We might need ether. And chat's actually pointing out we do need a way into Crystal Desert, as presently we don't have one.
Oh, you are true. That is true.
So absolutely, right now, it's a book or mirror for desert and possibly ether for TR, and chat is calling for ether. And Zen is going to give us the look we want to see. But maybe not just yet. We're going to see Crystal Hera first. I think this is a great call. I didn't see what Armos Knights dropped.
Yes, I don't think it was anything too exciting. 20 rupees, chat.
Yeah, thank you, chat. 20 rupees. So, Pendant, Eastern, not paying out anything. And Pedestal is actually, it's pretty dead. Looking pretty dead right now.
I wouldn't wish pet on anyone in this seed, in this situation. Another bottle under the shovel.
Chat asking where Zen's third sword was. That was also in the most stacked Paradox 5 I have ever seen.
Oh no, I believe chat's asking about his second sword.
Oh, the second sword. Yeah, his second sword was on Zora. So that's a sword that if either player goes to get the sword that the other player didn't get, then both players will end up with butter.
Alright, Zen into the Moldorm fight.
Zen out of the Moldorm fight as Trolldorm strikes again.
Sometimes you just gotta let Moldorm win one or two. So maybe that's what was going on there.
Alright, so that will be the third crystal for zenarcane, and Yukikaze is going to get the news that coming up here was absolutely the right play. Zen... I guess he's decided to do Spike Cave here?
Possible. I guess so.
I don't think he really meant to drop down, and when he did, he realized he was kind of in a bind, so you might as well do this now and then just climb up the mountain afterward.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches, and that's definitely what he's doing here. Rewarded with the...
We need that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can just bugnet catapult yourself into desert. That's go mode, right? I want somebody to make art of that now. That sounds absolutely hilarious.
Bugnet catapult into desert. You know, I want her too. Dang.
Yukikaze paused for a moment. He was thinking about going over to Hera, but he opens up the portal and now he will go over to Hera.
Yeah, doing Hera before TR here is, without the mirror, is the correct play for sure.
Yeah, you have to do what you can on Light Mountain before you go to mirrorless Dark Death Mountain. And Zen now deciding to, well, we're going down Spiral Cave before we go back up to see whether or not... Both these runners leaving us in suspense here. We don't know what the entry requirement is to TR.
We're getting there. Slowly, we're getting there.
I did see passing around in chat here. Someone asked, "Would you do ice here?" Looking for. I don't think we're looking for anything. We're probably in go mode here, with the exception of the desert situation. So I would think that our desert access is probably going to be on our path somewhere. It's just a question of finding out where.
With how seeds like to roll, I'm guessing it's probably here in TR.
Well, don't be so quick, because you do have Hookshot Cave and Super Bunny Cave. My god, it is Ether for TR!
Wow! Well, alright.
So the real question now is the key under the mat?
See, now that you said it, probably not.
Oh, in this situation, absolutely not. There's just so much open in this world right now that it can't be, right? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
It could never be under the mat. In fact, this Hookshot Cave is one of the saddest Hookshot Caves I've ever seen.
Very
wow! Sad. 40 rupees and 2 pieces of heart. Yukikaze, after taking a Trolldorm fall.
Yep.
So, even up. Runners 2, Trolldorm 2.
Alright, Super Bunny, what you got? Alright, well,
yeah.
Now that we're 2 items from Go instead of 1, what's the next stop, do you think?
I'm going to agree with chat here, and I say you go do Pod. Or you go do Mire? I mean, it's a full clearable crystal, so there's really nothing wrong with this play. What if he Galaxy Brains a mirror in Mire? Oh my.
That would be impressive to see. Especially because then you're already over here, you just mirror the desert and call it a day.
I mean, this Mire's just, it's kind of free. And it's been available, so I think this is kind of maybe an up logic read for zenarcane. I would expect Yuki to take his way over to Pod.
Alright, Mire. Let's see what you got.
And Yuki's going to get the bad news here that you can't do TR just yet. You know, in this situation, Zen wants to not see the big key early because it allows him to go through this dungeon and find whatever there is to find, and unfortunately there's the big key. So I guess you're going directly to Vitreous here, huh?
Well, Vitreous has an item when you come back in. One, it could be the mirror and you call it a day. Or B, Vitreous has nothing, and then you know once you come back in, you just find 2 items and leave, right?
I don't think you come back in unless you have to later on. I think this is just going to be pull the crystal and get out. I see chat saying mirrors on Smith. Unfortunately, we're living in a world of fantasy because the Smiths have been checked. The purple chest was nothing. The Smiths had nothing.
Smiths had the flute.
That's right. The Smiths had our fast travel.
Oh, hey, you know what would be actually terrible? And I want to wish this on no one. We still have the Thieves Town big chest.
Oh, that's not what I was expecting you to say, but that is correct. Alright, with Silver Arrows, Vitreous is quite literally just a few shots and you're done. Well, a couple extra if you happen to miss, but... Easy peasy. And a map. So there's 2 items sitting around in Mire, and hopefully we don't have to go digging for them. And yep, back in he goes. I'm still not sure about Mire over Pod, but there's 2 items that can absolutely change the outlook of this game if either one of them give you access to desert.
Speaking of making the Pod play.
Yeah, Palace to Darkness, a good 6-item dive. There's also 6 keys, so it's something to have a lot of fun trudging through, especially not having that mirror for routing purposes. But this could be the answer as well. And I'm seeing a lot of discussion in Pedestal in the chat, and Ped could have our answer, but only if we see flippers and mirror. And that means the only item that can be on the pedestal is an ether.
Yeah, but it feels very unlikely that that's going to be the case here.
And this Fire Snake not cooperating as... Well, there it is. There's a nice store state extension from zenarcane.
That's a fun one to get.
It's more fun when that Fire Snake just stays the heck out of your way.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, I believe the last check Zen has in this mire is the cutscene. And that's a gross 18-second wait. As to answer your question in chat, yes, both runners had the bad news that we need that 3rd medallion to enter Turtle Rock, that 3rd medallion being Ether.
Good old cutscene.
And drop in, and here comes the second item, and the second item in Misery Mire is an explosion.
Mire full of nothing. Definitely a very go-modable dungeon.
Yeah, that's a little bit of time that Zen's giving back to Yuki here, as I believe now the next play he's going to make will take him over to Pod. Yeah, Zen went and killed Vitreous, got nothing, and decided he was going right back in. Nice. Extended auto stairs. You don't see that every day either.
That's a thing I'm in the process of trying to learn, of all things. So it's nice to see it happen. So far, not a whole lot in Pod here.
Well, that's not something you want to see. So a little while ago, someone asked us in chat if you would go to Ice at any point, and now it's starting to look like Ice might have our answer.
There's our big key.
Alright, this is going to be a Hammer Young from Yukikaze, and not having a mirror, this is absolutely the way to go, because it allows you to loop back around, down through Harmless Hellway, and go straight to Helmasaur. Unless, one of the items in here happened to be a mirror. I was waiting for it.
Honestly, I'm just waiting and ready to call you out on it.
I'm really glad that it hasn't shown up, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see a dungeon item in this top check here. Yeah, that means I don't remember seeing a compass, so that's on Helmer.
Maybe I thought I saw a compass on right side.
I say, someone tell me I'm wrong because I miss things a lot.
I guess we can pay attention to when Zen does it here in a second.
So, all right, Tracker's also saying we feel like we've seen it. We don't remember. Now, there's some discussion in chat now. We're not sure. So we'll see in just a second. Now, there was also a question from chat. Has Catfish been done? No one's been to the Pyramid or Catfish as of yet. In fact, Yukikaze hasn't even been to the Zora domain, so I would almost think that's going to be his next port of call. So he'll end up with 4 swords and a half magic.
There's the compass. I thought I saw it over here.
So that means that we do have an item on Helmasaur King. I mean, we're going to kill him either way. This is not just a crystal, but a 5/6 crystal at that. So even if... Yeah, that means Pyramid Fairy's dead, actually. No, it's not. Never mind.
Pyramid Fairy could be our access to Desert Palace.
Indeed it could. That's why I ate my own words.
But we can't have both Pyramid Fairy and Ped.
You hear a lot of the time how players and commentators will talk about the dreaded Ice Rod hunt. Well, the Medallion hunt is rather similar. The only place that a Medallion can't be, outside of GT, of course, if it's locking a Crystal Dungeon, is the Crystal Dungeon that it's locking. So Ether, for all we know, could be waiting on Left Side Swamp, and there's a mirror out there for us to collect, and we don't want to see it.
Alright, Zen collecting his flippers he probably doesn't want to see, while Yuki takes down Helmasaur King. Rewarded with not only a red crystal, but a red shield as well.
So not really anything we wanted to see in this circumstance. But, you know, it's another Dungeon boss down, and that puts the crystals back tied at 4 for the moment. And that's another thing we haven't seen yet either. We do have Hammer Pegs and Magic Bat sitting in Kakariko that are right now feeling kind of isolated along with that Thieves Town Big Chest because of where the hammer ended up being.
Looks like Yuki's heading over to the pyramid. We're gonna get probably Pyramid Catfish here, I would assume.
That's feeling like the right set of overworld calls to make here. Unfortunately, Pyramid Catfish Zora would require one of these 2 checks to have a mirror, which I'm not really expecting that to be a thing here. Oh, yeah, I had to say anything.
On the pyramid.
I had to say anything at all, didn't I?
So hey, about that ether on Ped.
Or about that, you know, book on Left Side Swamp. Or some other stupid... Oh. Actually, that opens up Desert Mire, so that'll absolutely be the play here.
Yeah, for sure.
Chat still wants our runners to go into good old Green Pendant Swamp.
I mean, I want them to go into Green Pendant Swamp, but you know...
So the question here is, does Yuki do the same thing Zen did and poke through Mire to see if Ether's waiting for us here?
I can see it, because Ether can be pretty much anywhere except for TR at this point.
I might like, if you see it's a Godmire, killing Vidi, going to Desert, and possibly considering coming back.
Yeah, I suppose that is definitely a possibility. We do have Checkerboard Cave available to us over here as well now.
Chat asking us where zenarcane found half magic. He did check Waterfall with a fake flipper early on. Yukikaze has not been in the Zora area and has half magic waiting for him there, as well as Sword 4 sitting on Zora if he decides to go in that direction. Yeah, and Yuke is going to go ahead and go straight to Vidi. Alrighty, we are 1 hour into this tilt between Yukikaze and zenarcane. This is round of 16, the fourth round of Challenge Cup. Game 1 between these two fantastic runners, and so far, it's been absolutely a thing. Definitely a thing. We have Ether required for TR, and we don't know where it is. We have Swamp Palace suddenly on the table, and lots of other checks that we can make. Lots.
The world is their oyster.
But having that said, if you have liked what you've seen so far, make sure you give these two runners a follow. Fantastic competitors, showing off a lot of fun tricks and tips and all kinds of routing choices. Proving why they're here this far into the Challenge Cup tournament.
All right, Yuki into the silvered Vidi fight. Will be out in probably 5 more seconds.
Zen's gonna do something we didn't see Yuki do.
I like it. It's an isolated check for Zen, and at this point he can mirror and flute away, and then probably hit Desert next.
I think if you don't make this check now, having already done the Zora area checks, you don't do it at all. Which brings up an interesting point of contention. Zen never checked Sahasrara's closet.
Ooh, that's true. You think that might give him incentive to go to Swamp and fight Argus?
I still feel like you go to Desert first.
Oh no, yeah, I totally agree. But that green pendant is, also calling.
Yeah, in terms of like a routing call and a density play, I think you have to go ahead and do Swamp next after this if Ether doesn't, just turn up. Or it's in Desert, and we are hit and go mode at 103. And that means, folks, we have a race.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, because after this, both runners just have a straight line to Turtle Rock and then, through. And then GT. That's it. That's all we've got left. Question from chat: someone asking if half magic for zenarcane will have any kind of a bearing on how this race shakes out going out of here. It is a slight. It's a resource advantage. It doesn't actually do anything specific that helps Zen out that couldn't otherwise be cured by good execution. It does make parts to the GT gauntlet a little bit easier, but it's still part of execution. You've got to manage your shots the same way you would in any other situation climbing GT. So it's going to come down to how quickly these runners tear through Turtle Rock and what routes they decide to take looking for that big key in just a few minutes.
All right, Yukikaze out of the fight, zenarcane into the fight with Landmo. A faster fight for Zen. He's going to get out of that fight much faster than Yuki, closing the gap that much more.
Yeah, we're less than a minute apart here, about almost half a minute. That's it. So this has a lot going on. One dead rock, one missed call, one little wiggle when you meant to zig or zag, and things could change real quick here. You've seen some some thoughts as to how things could go horribly wrong. All right, so we've got Yukikaze entering TR at about the 106.20 mark, and Zen right on his heels. Yeah, and they're still just about half a minute apart. This is tight.
It's extremely tight. It's going to come down to probably GT routing and just straight execution at this point.
So, question from chat on when these two have scheduled their second game. That will be happening on the 10th. That is Thursday. At the same time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, so this is probably one of the only rooms that could really, really mess with you in TR here is this Chain Chomp room.
As long as the Chain Chomps cooperate, everything will be fine.
Well, it looks like they wanted to. So get your big key before the big key check, and you'll be stealing that pokey key. Oh
Chomps.
Boy, that is not the definition of cooperation.
No, definitely not.
Really clutched use of the burner there to avoid getting bit in the bottom. And I believe the meta here is to skip the big chest, Trey?
From what I've heard, yes, that is definitely the meta. You are more likely to find a key on Laser Bridge or in the Crystal Roller room than you are to find one in the big chest.
While Yuki's shooting for the moon here, he is headed over to the west exit, and he's going to get a look at that big chest. That's interesting.
It is still a slight gamble because stealing that key, your third key could be in the vanilla big key chest. So if it is there, and then your other one's in the big chest, then you have to walk back up to go get your small key out of the big chest.
Okay, and both runners decided to do the same thing here. So no time to be gained or lost by doing this play. However, you do get some extra arrows for GT, which is kind of nice. And we did get a key out of the Crystal Roller Room, so we won't be seeing Laser Bridge. So, Trinex here for Yukikaze in about 20 seconds or so.
Yep, just the time to get across this this gap here.
Well, look out, Zen is still right behind him. This is exactly what we came for, right? This is a really close, tight game with a seed that basically just threw stuff all over the place, and wow.
That was 4 hits on that ice head. I'm impressed.
That's pretty good. And a nice dodge of the nip, too. That was well handled, and I'm going to say hello and shout-outs to our raiders coming from Nebula One's channel. We are in the closing moments of this Game 1 matchup between Yukikaze and zenarcane. Very, very close right now. Both runners about 30 seconds apart when they entered this dungeon, and could be anyone's race going through GT here. And we do have a game we like to play.
Yeah, we do. Hey y'all, pick a number between 1 and 22. Where you think the GT Big Key is. Exclamation point, bet, and your number.
Trey, if I'm not mistaken, your number's 8, right?
Yeah, it is. So yours, because I never get to hear what your number is.
I don't have one number. I like to float. Today, I think it's going to be a relatively early big key that rewards a little divergent thinking. I think it's going to be in 10.
Ah.
And we are going to see Yukikaze go right first. This number will be based on where Yuki finds his key. And it's not going to be there.
Hey, our 4th bottle.
That's actually not a bad bottle to want to see. The fairy bottle in GT. It's a little bit of extra extra safety where you probably don't even need it having, 2 rows of hearts, blue, male, tempered, and silvers, but it's nice to have just in case something goes horribly wrong.
Well, we're up to 7. Hey.
Well, look at that. Now, how many checks was that for that big key?
I think that was the number 8, actually.
That's a pretty early key.
Help! I stop me from being correct when I'm on commentary.
I can't. But that does mean that Zen will pick up his key and join us in climbing the mountain. The mountain? In climbing the tower, huh? We already climbed the mountain. It's all execution from here.
As far as chat, GG's the Kefka also guessing the number 8. And Cyberlink for also saying 8.
Alright, as Yukikaze jumps into Gauntlet, already in Gauntlet 2, gonna play with these Stalfos. Oh wow, what a pattern for these Stalfos. And this is where that half magic might be an advantage for zenarcane, is he's gonna have a little bit of extra ammunition to just plow through these rooms.
Yep, the skeletons, you hit them with a fire rod shot, they just poof, they're gone. Definitely speeds up that room and the Gauntlet 5, I think it is.
Yeah, the 5th room, this one coming up here. Especially if you get the splash off the pot and it takes the Stalfos out, it's just done.
Right, like that.
Oh, even better is using Ether. Just don't even care where you're standing in the room. Blow those skeletons to bits. Did you know Cold Lightning destroys Stalfos?
Wow. I never would have guessed.
So we didn't see it earlier in Desert Palace, but Yukikaze has pulled out the silvers for Land Mode 2 and is having a time. And this shooter's not really cooperating either. So, resorting to sword strats here, we do get a powder on the Bunny Beam coming into this fight for Zen, and he's going to take his silvers out, and he's going to have a time.
And Landmo is just dodging all these arrows today.
So that room could have been an equalizer in either direction here. And instead, we're going to have about the same gap in time that we had coming in. All right, Yukikaze coming up on Torches 1 as zenarcane has the most satisfying Samaria rooms in the game.
So nice to do.
A little bit of slip sliding away there in this torch puzzle. And I have to pick up this little extra magic if we want to use Fire Rod on Torches 2. And both runners having 2 keys. I don't think they're even going to bother checking anything up here. What do you think?
I don't think so either. We got a Temper Sword and Silvers. Like, what else could you possibly want? Especially on the second side, he has half magic.
Oh, half magic. The only thing really that you can hope to pick up there would be maybe a red mail. These runners don't even need that at this point.
Exactly, red mail. The last sword that they don't know is somewhere.
Here's that Moldworm 2 fight. And as Yukikaze hooks across zenarcane falling into Moldworm 2, this is super close.
Post Moldworm 2 having 20 rupees. Just in case you care.
And Zen turning his nose up at that final check of the game. He's not even interested. He's just going straight for it. And this is the only other spot here in Ganon's Tower where things could really get screwed up, is this Aghanim fight. These patterns can really make a bit of difference. And as Chad is pointing out, zenarcane has nibbled away at that time deficit. 30 seconds walking into TR, now closer to 10 in the Aghanim fight, and we see Aga is not cooperating.
This fight's all about angles. You got to reflect back the shots in the correct patterns.
Oh, Yuki is not having a good time with these patterns, and
no,
it's going to be zenarcane coming out of here first. And right behind him, oh my goodness, we have a lead change going into Ganon, everybody. But this one is still way too close to call.
I think it's like a 4-second difference by my count.
Zenarcane first to drop into Ganon, who reminds us that whole grain is fantastic for your body and you should have some for breakfast. And he's setting up the 1-on-1, and Ganon's not exactly agreeing with that. But we get that trident spin for phase 2 anyway, and Yuki right behind him, but misses the 1-on-1 and gets the corner pattern instead, which is pretty remarkable, as that's a phase 2 skip right there.
Then on to the phase 3. What's going to be interesting now, though, is these patterns are going to be different.
Yeah, we're going to have different teleport patterns from Ganon now, too. Well, not different, but they're going to be offset by 1. And that's it for phase 3. Zen is 4 silvers away from crossing a bridge and finding a Triforce. And Yuki's going to have Ganon in the bottom left corner. And now he is entering phase 4. Just missing the triple. Ganon is bacon. Also just missing the triple. Oh, now we got 2 bacon. And now we got literal seconds after the fanfare, but it looks like this is a clean win, and let's see some GGs for Zenarcane, and let's see some GGs for Yukikaze.
Zenarcane finishing with a racetime.gg time of 1:20.37. Yukikaze right behind 1:20.47. Speaking of, we are joined by both Zenarcane and Yukikaze. GG.
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 Absolutely incredible. 10 seconds.
That was lows.
We aim to please.
Yes.
Well, that you did, and this was a tale. We had all kinds of different flying around after each of you found that flute, and it just came out to be. For the longest time, you were 30 seconds apart, coming out with that Ether and Desert Palace, and it just got closer and closer and closer. Then Agate 2 happened, and you were within 5 seconds of each other. It was crazy.
I mean, when you finish 10 seconds apart, we gotta meet up somewhere.
So I want to ask you, Yukikaze, what drew you into Eastern as early as you did it, with what became available not too long afterward?
Well, I felt like with this starting bow and the other one in the mountain too, I figured something might be locked behind it, and I figured it was the dances checks at that point. So that's what got me into Eastern that early, and I really want to go into Pod, but without Mirror, I just figured I should do the Light World first and then move on to Dark World.
Did you go up the mountain after you got the glove originally?
Yes, I think. Well, no, I didn't. I only went there with the mitts after the flute.
Yeah, I think you both waited for the flute to go up the mountain, and actually it was Yuki went up the mountain first after the flute. Zen, you went and got your hook shot immediately. That ended up being the story of the early game.
Well, I thought with mitts early, basically early, and flute on a mirrorless check, there's going to be most likely something in that mire shed that I'm going to need, be it Samaria to get into mire and just clear it then and there, or a hook shot or a hammer. So that's why I decided I'm going to go there. Turned out to be hook shot, and then it's like, right, I got to go up the mountain now.
There was one other thing that kind of stuck out. Zen, you went back into mire.
Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. When I saw it was a go modi mire, I should have just left those 2 checks, but I didn't trust the seed enough, I guess. that something could have been in Mire because I had access to it early. So I should have trusted the go mode Mire with big key right there, but I didn't, and went back in, and then even went to cutscene chest, which I shouldn't have done.
So it came out that you did Mire and Yuki did Eastern, and then suddenly you're both in pod at relatively the same time. You're chasing footsteps, you get the flippers, you both dispatch Helmasaur, you both run to the pyramid, and you both get a mirror. And at that point, it's like, oh god, there's a green pendant swamp. What are you two thinking at that point?
I was like, right, I can get into the desert though. I want to make sure I clear my crystal first.
Yeah,
so I was like, as soon as I saw it, I was hoping Yuki actually found it sooner and would get baited to swamp, but that wasn't the case.
All right, well, game 1 in the books, 10 seconds apart. Second game coming up on Thursday. Any thoughts from either of you two?
Really?
I just like this.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah, it's the only thing we're asking, I guess. It's going to be as fun as this one was.
And I thought for sure that hammer was just going to end up at a bad location. You got Thieves Town Big Chest is orphaned. You got hammer pegs. You got Magic Bat. You're like, okay, well, now what? We need to get into desert. Oh, gosh, now TR's Ether. Now we need to find Ether. What could possibly go wrong? And this was a nice one. This was a very gentle kind of seed with Mirror showing up in your path, and also the bait flippers. But also, the Ether just being right there in your clearable crystal. So, yeah.
Yeah,
All
right.
right.
I can't complain about it.
All right, we good to wrap up?
Yeah.
All right, so I want to thank our runners, zenarcane and Yukikaze. They do have a game 2 on Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which we already have some people volunteering to track and commentate, so we will be putting that on ZSR2, it looks like. So look out for that. Also on Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m., we have a Game 3 between W. Garrison and Worldwide Wimpy, and that's going to be on ZSR main at the moment, unless other things add to the schedule, but that's the current plan. So yeah, really hype stuff on Thursday. Please come and check it out if you want. As for ZSR today, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, so in just a couple hours, we have a Wind Waker Randomizer Challenge Cup match between second place 92 and CPU Blanc 9999. So stick around for a couple hours, and that'll be up and running, and that'll be fun. And with that, we're going to sign it off here. I want to once again thank our runners, zenarcane and Yukikaze. Please follow them. Also follow our commentators, Trey Spire and Zaruven, did a fantastic job, and our trackers, Samimus and Home Record. And with that, we are off. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hope you had a fantastic time, and have a wonderful rest of your day.